Hey guys.
Hey everybody, Frank and Dan here. We just wanted to say thanks for watching. Please feel free to hit that subscribe button and share things with people if you like what you see.
And leave comments.
Yeah. We're doing the pointy at all the
because
things.
that's what you do on YouTube.
Yeah, all right. Thanks everybody. Enjoy the show.
Everybody.
Hi guys. Well, from blustery Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, we're going to be talking about happiness.
Yes.
And a new Pew poll about happiness and religiosity, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to dig into that.
Why are you motherfuckers so unhappy all the time? I don't trust you people. All these atheists out here.
Oh no, that was a little bit of a tease and about where that story is going to go, Dan.
Not the first time I've been called a tease, but that's all right.
All right, well, Dan, I have a story here that is a little horrifying. It sort of explains. Well, I mean, we know why a woman would want to flee Saudi Arabia.
I can think of a reason or two.
Right.
It's true.
Like, this is not hard to imagine why. It's almost to the point of saying, or of asking yourself, why are there not more?
Right.
Right. There are actually about 1,000 women who flee every year. The vast majority of them are not successful.
Right.
It has to do in large part with the way that the Saudi government has structured its society with men having this male guardianship thing over women.
Women have to get permission from a male relative to do basically anything.
Right. So, like, if you want to leave the country, even though you have a passport, you have everything else in line. It used to be that you had like this little yellow, you'd go and get a yellow card or whatever, and the man, your guardian, would sign it.
Oh, okay.
As a woman, you'd have your guardian sign it.
Sure.
And then they would allow you through customs.
Huh.
With little international fanfare, a few years ago, the Saudi government issued an app that is really starting to come to light now in the West called Absher.
Huh.
And it is designed to help male guardians track down the women that they are responsible for.
Of course it is. Find my woman.
It's just like, it works just like with your iPhone, Find Your Phone. No, not exactly. But essentially what women have to, so built into this system, a man is able to say, on these dates, this woman has permission to be out of the country, and she has permission to go to these specific places.
Okay.
Right. And so that case that happened recently of the woman who fled to Canada, and the one that ended up in like Thailand.
She was trying to get to Australia.
Yeah.
Initially.
That's right. That was all the same story, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So anyway, her story, she actually had to sneak in, access her male guardian's Absher account.
Oh, shit.
And give herself permission to leave the country.
Holy crap.
This situation in Saudi Arabia is really the existence of this app is really only starting to come to light because of her high profile escape.
Right.
And now people are really starting to talk about it. It's been talked about extensively on Twitter, with the often accompanied with the hashtag end male guardianship is a regularly occurring hashtag, not necessarily directly linked to this, but also it has caused a lot of people in the West to start calling on Apple to take this application out of its app store because it's there.
Yeah.
And because it obviously is a tool of oppression, and that should be in violation of Apple's terms and conditions and whatnot.
Yeah, but not when you write those terms and conditions in Arabic. When something gets lost in the translation there.
Yeah. You mentioned some of the things that women have to get permission to do. That includes getting married, studying abroad. I believe it's like now that women can get driver's licenses, it probably includes being able to get a driver's license. And I think we've mentioned this on the show before, but it bears repeating. Even leaving prison,
right,
is something that a woman has to have permission from their male guardian to do. So,
which is funny because then if they don't get that permission, the state is somehow obligated to continue to house and
they just
feed.
keep them. Yeah, locked up.
Okay.
Just disgusting.
Yeah.
Awful, horrible.
It is disgusting.
Treatment.
How dare she go onto someone else's phone and hack into their account and fraudulently give herself permission for things?
Seems
Gentlemen,
like some kind of violation.
remember to keep your passwords safe. That's all I'm saying. You can't control your women if they can get your passwords.
Damn. That's gross just saying it.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on. You know what time of year it just was here in Utah?
Groundhog Day.
Well, yes, but also there was a certain thing that happened up in the Park City area, spills down into Salt Lake a little bit.
Was there an avalanche?
The Sundance Film Festival.
Oh!
It was an avalanche of A-list celebrities.
Oh. They descend on us every year.
They do. It's very funny. If you fly between Salt Lake and Los Angeles during that week, you're almost guaranteed to be on board with somebody famous.
How exciting.
Isn't it just?
Oh my God, it's so exciting.
Usually B-list. Anyway,
because the A-list is on their own plane.
that's right. But another group descended also with this year. Apparently more than 200 seminary and Christian college students came to attend the Sundance Film Festival.
Okay, that's odd.
It is odd, but it's actually a thing. This group called the Windwriter Forum has now teamed up with the festival. They come from schools all over the country, and they're Christian students.
Yeah.
And they watch independent films, which, as you and I know, because we go to lots of these things,
Right.
They're very rarely Christian friendly. They are pushing boundaries and really discussing a lot of hard issues usually.
Yeah.
And these students are coming to watch those films and sort of they have a forum and they have classes and stuff that actually take place. Some of them in LDS, some of their screenings are in LDS and LDS church.
What?
Yeah. Isn't it interesting?
What?
It's crazy.
Do they have to do an exorcism after the Sundance leaves?
You'd think. Yeah, so they have their own private screenings of several of the films
No way.
from the festival.
That's wild.
Yeah. Now some of the students do report feeling icky feelings when they see some of the films, but it does seem like they're actually doing a thing where they're pushing themselves a little bit.
Cry a little bit.
I know. It's very sad.
I was feeling Jesus all day.
Right?
And then that horrible movie started where those two gay men kissed.
Yeah.
It was just the worst.
Or somebody, they talked about how last year, they've been doing this for a couple years now. And last year they watched one of the ones that won the prize was about a lesbian woman who lost her faith or something like that. Anyway, there's
interesting.
They're actually seeing sort of some real life being portrayed, which is good. I mean, it's better than if they just focused on pure flicks or whatever. So I'm pretty happy that they're
that's wonderful
that they're doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give credit to them. I believe that they deserve credit for doing this.
Well, I don't know who got the whole thing started, but I think Sundance should be commended as well.
Oh,
don't you think?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
For, reaching out to a community that probably wouldn't ever reach out to them.
Well,
again,
I don't know who did the reaching at the beginning.
Well, I guess
but
reaching a community,
but for forging
people who would not.
a bridge that you don't normally think is going to be forged.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. All right, Dan.
Yeah.
A number of years ago, we talked about Ralph Shorty.
Ooh.
It's a name that may not immediately recognize the name. That's fine. He really wasn't that important of a person. He was a Oklahoma State senator.
Oh.
Right?
So very important person.
Very important.
A VIP.
Let's see. So he was stridently conservative on just about everything. He supported anti-LGBTQ legislation.
What? In Oklahoma?
I know. Just the worst.
Who ever heard of such a thing?
Well, he was the guy who he got caught with an underage male prostitute. A 17-year-old kid.
Of course you did.
And so anyway, I remembered the story because obviously Oklahoma, I would kind of remember it.
Yeah.
Because, from being there and everything. But he was, at the time, sentenced to 15 years in prison. Well, he has now been ordered to pay $125,000 in restitution to the teen.
Wow.
This is to cover the boy's sort of therapy as he seeks treatment for the trauma and victimization he experienced. Not just Shorty's hands, but just working as a teen.
That's one expensive sex worker.
Yeah. Shorty will be paying for this probably the rest of his life, to be honest.
Especially since he can't hold a good job right now, being as he's in prison and all.
Yeah. So obviously there will be no money paid until he is out of prison. So this young man does have to wait for that. But obviously but what is interesting is that because it's a civil case, there's no appeal or anything.
Oh wow.
I'm not entirely sure how that works, but
so
but anyway,
he's money just gonna be paying.
Yeah, he has no appeal. There's no way for him to
get out of it.
To get out of that. At the time of his sort of that this news was coming out, he was 35 years old. The senator. And before he even could resign from the Oklahoma Senate, his fellow state senators had scraped his name off of his office door.
Oh shit!
They changed the locks and painted over his name in the Senate parking lot.
Oh wow!
Like they were just like, "You're out of here, dude."
Wow.
And then he resigned like 6 days later. So, and he was also originally just facing child pornography charges, but the state dropped that to pursue these other charges instead.
Oh well, good, because there was another charge, so they don't pursue he did multiple illegal things, and they only.
I don't know. I don't know.
Forget it.
They probably figured that this was the one that he. I don't know what goes through a prosecutor's mind.
I don't know either.
But anyway, yeah. So that's I think is a good update. I always like these, total unbelievable lack of surprise stories where the super gay hating guy gets caught with a male prostitute.
Yeah. Shocker. Big shocker. We're all super shocked by that. It's never happened before. Well, I'm going to tell a story. This is a horrible story. I hate this story. But this is... Well, it's not I didn't do it. I'm just a reporter. Don't kill the messenger here. This is the story of young Ethan Hausholtz, a 7-year-old kid in Wisconsin, who did not properly memorize his Bible verses.
Oh, well, that's what he's supposed to do.
It was his job. It was what he was told to do by Timothy Hausholtz.
Okay.
Who I believe is his adoptive father. So he needed to be punished, obviously. He hadn't memorized his verses. So he was made to carry a 44-pound log, which
Christ.
is like 2/3 of his own body weight,
I'd have a hard time doing that.
around doing laps around their large property for a long period of time, supervised by his brother, his adoptive brother, Damien Hausholtz, who was 15, who beat him as he did it, poked, prodded, punched.
Oh my God.
Kicked, knocked him to the ground several times, stepped on his head in a puddle.
What?
Really just beat the shit out of him until he died.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. So
How
now
awful. How truly awful.
Yeah. So now Timothy, the father, Damien, the brother, and Tina, the mother, are all charged with various.
This isn't the one where they also buried him in snow or whatever.
They did bury him in snow.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Isn't that fun?
But,
so this happened back in April of 2018.
Oh my God.
But the criminal charges were not filed until this week.
That is so gross.
The father was charged with felony murder and 5 other charges. The kid, the 15-year-old kid, was charged with first-degree reckless homicide and 6 other charges, and unfortunately will be probably tried as an adult.
Wow.
Which I don't like that. I feel like that is...
He was abused into
Yeah.
clearly doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He should be given a lot of therapy.
Yeah, I mean...
And a lot of help, and maybe hopefully a chance at
No,
a life.
Nope, he'll just be put into the criminal justice system and his life, and made sure it'll make sure that he'll never have a good, happy, healthy life. The mother, Tina McKeever Hausholtz, is charged with failing to prevent bodily harm. Probably true.
Okay.
And intentionally contributing to the delinquency of a child. I wonder if that's about the teenager.
Sounds like that's about the teenager.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Well, I'm really glad these people like Jesus so much.
It's important. Look. I mean, who knows? This kid may have had a learning disability. He may have been trying, but it doesn't matter. Your kid, he didn't memorize scripture. So I guess really when you think about it, the lesson of the Bible is beat the shit out of your children.
Right.
I think that's the main lesson of the Bible.
So they were just doing what the Bible told them to.
Yes, indeed. If the Lord says, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah, but where in there does it say you have to learn your verses? Or you're going to have to go out and carry a log around?
Well,
that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Log.
I would assume that these people would probably have found some way to abuse their children with or without Christianity.
Maybe.
That's my guess.
Probably.
They were going to be shitty parents either way.
But I guarantee you that they justified their
Yeah.
shittiness using the Bible.
That's true. That's true.
Rather than we're just shitty.
Yeah, who knows
people.
if it would have gone as far, but they're just that's just infuriating. Yeah. Well, Dan, oh God, I hate to go from a story of a child dying to this. But there are we have from time to time on this show brought up various different burial options that exist in the world. Right.
Burial of dead humans, you mean?
Burial of dead humans.
Sure.
This is obviously it really probably shouldn't matter, but I have my feelings about what I want to have happen to my body. I'll be dead and gone, but I have wishes.
Sure.
Right. And a lot of people have wishes.
Yeah.
Washington State is exploring allowing a new kind of green burial wherein the body would be composted.
Love it.
You end up after about 30 days, you end up with about a 1 cubic foot bit of soil.
Great.
It actually turns it into soil, the body into soil, and it works. It's composting. It's the normal natural process where the body is put in a vessel. It is covered with wood chips, and they aerate the whole thing.
Sure.
And it creates an environment that encourages and is hospitable for microbes and bacteria to do what's needed to break that body down in 30 days.
Wow.
They're able to reuse the vessel.
Yeah.
From person to person.
Sure.
So this thing is green.
I love it.
And instead of, like with cremation, there's so much energy required.
Yeah.
In order to cremate the
and
body.
nothing is gained from it. All the nutrients that body may have had for some are destroyed.
Right. And typically burial in this country also is accompanied with the body being embalmed. And usually in the United States, we also do concrete vaults for the coffin.
Yeah.
And
it's
so
it's required by law in most places.
In most places, yeah. And so that body is never going to return to nature.
No.
Or at least not for a very long time. And when it does, it's just full of nasty chemicals.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't embalm unless you have to unless you really need for there to be a viewing, and that has to be in 3 weeks instead of 1. Don't embalm your bodies.
Why does there have to be a viewing?
There doesn't. I'm just saying, if for whatever reason that's important
there
to you.
can be a viewing. You can come look at my little mound of dirt that just got made from me.
But it's important to some people. I'm not going to get judgy about that. But what I am going to say is you don't have to. It's a waste of your money, and it is a pollutant into the world. There's just no reason to embalm.
So, in the United States, there are roughly 2.7 million people who die every year. 2.7 million people.
Sure.
That's a lot of dead bodies to deal with, and we're just sticking them in the ground. But I guess how many, Dan, what percentage of people are cremated in this country?
8.
Oh, that's a little higher than that.
Oh, okay.
53.5%.
Wow. That's cool.
We have crossed over. I don't know when that happened, but obviously attitudes in this country are more and more shifting toward just, having bodies cremated. Like I've said before, I think I've said it on the show, my parents have decided to be cremated, which for especially with Mormons and people of their generation, that I was really surprised by that decision.
I got a little pushback when I cremated my dad.
I bet. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But for my parents, it was purely an economical decision, right?
Interesting.
They made the decision because they're prepaying everything.
Right.
They're getting it all lined up, and they just looked at it, and because it's their bodies, and there's no guilt over what, well, no, I don't think mom and dad, they would want to be cremated, or they wouldn't want to be cremated. No, they made the decision. And instead of the funeral director being able to manipulate you into taking the most expensive options,
right?
It is
our most modestly priced receptacle.
So anyway, I thought that was just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I want that.
I do too.
That's what I mean. That's as close to what I want as seems reasonable to expect.
Well, because I'm just wow, I would like to just donate myself to one of those studies about composting or not
about
composting, about rotting bodies.
Sure.
Because at least then I get to know that my body actually rotted away.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want. Right?
Yeah.
Leave me out in the woods. That's what I want.
My dad used to always say, "Throw me to the wolves."
To the wolves, right?
Well,
I think that's a great idea. I think we should just completely fence off an area, and you just throw the bodies over the fence.
Get a trebuchet. See how far you can launch them.
Yeah, and let the pack of wolves, the very well-fed pack of wolves, just rip the bodies apart, and then poop them out.
There you go.
That seems like the best way to die.
But this composting thing,
not die,
I
but
like.
to be.
Are there people protesting against this idea?
No, it's more that the state is trying to figure out, how to, because legally there are only 2 things you can do with a body.
Right.
Right. You can bury it or you can cremate it. that's for the state of Washington. I would assume that's probably most states.
Right.
Right. And so what they're considering is making this a third option.
Yeah.
There are other options out there, of course. There's the one where you sort of are chemically cremated. That's like a thing that's happening where your body is just dissolved and they basically just flush you down the drain.
That sounds horrific.
And then they take the bones and they pulverize the bones. And
this is some like Breaking Bad shit right there.
Oh yeah, no, that one just sounds awful.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are
Also, I don't want bodies floating down my sewer system. That seems wrong or bad. And then released into the...
I don't know. There's so much bad shit.
It's the chemicals I'm more worried about. I don't like... Yeah. I don't know.
Well, that one is considered a fairly green option. I'm not sure exactly what chemicals they're using and all of that, but it's rendered not hazardous before they flush you.
It. Sure.
And that's legal. I can't remember what the article said about that, but it was like 16 or 18 states that's actually legal in.
I'm saying just let the microbes do their job. Let the
Absolutely.
bacteria
That's why
do
the
work.
composting is brilliant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm on board.
And then like put me in your garden.
Yeah.
Put a flower right in me. That just seems fucking brilliant.
I can be literally pushing up the daisies.
You could literally be a tomato next year, Dan.
Eat me. Eat me. All right, I'm going to close it off with a story, a local story, some local interest. Utahns will probably know this name. Maybe we definitely knew this name.
I knew the name. Yeah.
Sterling Van Wagenen. Yeah, a sort of, if you can say it this way, a luminary of Utah film,
an LDS film
production,
Well,
including...
he was actually he actually produced film in Hollywood, though. I know of at least one film that he was a producer of because it did really well at the Academy Awards back in the mid 80s.
Yeah,
oddly, I remember that.
He got himself some street cred and then rode that wave
back to Utah.
Right back to Utah and became the biggest guy we got, sort of thing. Or the biggest guy that the Mormons have.
Right.
Including he made at least one of the films, the videos that plays in the temple ceremony.
Yeah.
Now, you and I have talked about the temple ceremony recently. Well, it turns out that that he, and you'll be shocked by this, he has admitted to having inappropriately touched a young boy back in the 90s.
Jesus. It's the admitting that's shocking. Not so much the fact that...
Yeah.
I mean, not specifically him. I mean,
he didn't come out with
I had no opinion of the man,
right,
as to how, much of a creeper he seemed or anything. But like,
he didn't.
People actually saying and admitting it. That's
here's the thing.
Rare.
What happened was this kid, all grown up now, went to confront him.
Oh wow!
And recorded it.
Oh Jesus!
And then it got out on the on the Mormon leaks.
Yeah.
So here's, I'm never surprised when someone who has risen to prominence within a religion did something bad, because a percentage of humans are awful and do bad things.
Well, but I mean, after this incident, he was, okay, I don't know when he made whatever temple film he made, but he still was involved heavily at KBYU.
Right.
I worked at KBYU for a year in the late 90s.
This is a PBS or a public television.
Yeah, at
station.
the time it was still a PBS affiliate. I think they've disaffiliated.
Yeah, they have.
But at the time they were a PBS station, and I remember his name thrown around a lot. For working on various productions at the station.
Right.
I think I met the man once. And then when I was up at the U as a student, I think he ended up coming onto the faculty like a year after.
Okay.
But here, what was I saying? I was saying something. Doesn't matter.
You'll get to it. Anyway, one of the reasons that I wanted to bring this up
is
that the church definitely knew about this guy.
That's where I was heading. Yeah.
And actually convinced the family to let the church handle it rather than getting the police involved or anything like that, which is very common among cases like these. The other reason I wanted to bring this up is because, as we have reported, there have been recent changes to the temple movie, the film shown at the temple.
Right.
I find these two things strangely coincident in these bits of news. And now it's time for Dan's Conspiracy Theory Corner. where I suss out, here's what I think may have happened, and I really genuinely think this is a possibility. I'm not saying it did. I don't have any evidence for it.
Okay.
But it seems very possible to me, because we know that the new film is not a film at all, but rather
essentially a film strip.
Yeah, it's still photos with audio underneath.
Right.
I'm wondering if they had to hastily create that because they knew that this was going to break, that that Sterling may have gone to them and said, this shit's about to hit the fan.
Unless he produced every single film, there were always a couple or a few films in rotation.
Oh, well.
So, I mean, they could have just pulled his film if there was some worry about that.
Yeah, but would anybody know that was the film?
Yeah, I guess if it's a slideshow, you can say, no, he produced the films. Now there's a slideshow.
Right. It's just a theory, but it just seems like this. I'm wondering if they paid the guy who was leaking this a little bit of money to hold off until they could get their damage control in order.
That is some big time conspiratory thinking on your part, Dan.
Yeah,
it's not that it's, and for what makes a good conspiracy theory is that it seems plausible, right? So
I'm not claiming that I know the truth on this. I'm not claiming any evidence. I'm just claiming it just started to smell like something was going on.
Well, and also like a lot of conspiracy theories, now that you've said it, like, well, how I have nothing to argue against it.
There we go. And this has been Dan's Conspiracy Theory Corner, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to write into us with your own conspiracy theories, you can do so. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yep. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
And while on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge. Request to join is a closed group, but we will let you in. Also, check us out on Reddit and Twitter at TGI Atheist. Hey, Dan.
Yo.
We're big fans of the Jim Baker show.
Oh, I couldn't be a bigger fan.
And we like to play little audio clips.
I mean, I can only take it in 3-minute segments at most.
That's right. But Perry Stone, who I'm not really familiar with, but that's the name of the guy who's talking.
Okay.
He's a guest on the show, and he has...
What does he look like? Do you have an image of him?
Yeah, he's got kind of grayish on a little bit on the sides, some glasses. He's
Perry Stone.
He's wearing... Is that a turtleneck? I can't tell. There's a
they're all in
symbol right in front of his face right now. But...
Excuse me.
Oh, bless you, Dan.
Bit of a cold.
Anyway, he has he thinks that we need a different approach on how to prevent mass shootings.
Yeah.
And so especially in schools. And so let's just have a listen.
You're going to have to allow teaching of Scripture. You teach it as history or whatever. Teach the Beatitudes, which is just lessons how to live. Yeah. There's got to be something breaking into the public schools again, because this is where a lot of this activity is built. This is where a lot of the gang activity, the bullying has to stop. You know, everyone who shoots kids are kids who have been bullied.
That's right.
And there has to be rules set in schools, no tolerance for bullying. If you're being bullied, you come to us. We will deal with it. We'll sit the kids down together. I'll make them apologize to each other.
This recent killing might be linked to bullying.
It was, because I know it was 5 minutes from a pastor friend of mine's house, and one of his youth girls ran by, and that boy shot the girl beside him and didn't shoot her. She's a really good Christian girl, and God spared her. But so I see that. The sons and daughters being touched by the Spirit of God is the remedy for this whole thing. That is the remedy.
The church knows God's the only answer to this horrible warfare that we're in.
In West Virginia, in parts of West Virginia.
But can it change, though?
Well, I can tell you it can, because I don't want to say too much, but I won't say the name or where. But in the state of West Virginia, the drug problem is so bad in some of those mountain schools. They are letting young preachers come in and hold services in the auditorium during school time.
Wow. That's
now,
awesome.
I know that people are going to scream, "Oh, God, separation of church." Look, when you got kids dying, forget separation of church and state. When you got overdoses of 15-year-olds, forget separation of church and state. And
that's crazy.
The great thing is hundreds of kids up in those mountains are coming to know the Lord.
Hundreds
of kids, Dan.
Hundreds of kids.
No, you got, if you're gonna do an impersonation of him, it's got to be a little bit more. Hundreds of kids, Dan. Hundreds.
I gotta ramp up the gay on.
You gotta turn the gay up from whatever your nominal sort of
my
3 or 4 is.
My standard.
The alert on the gaydar, the Richter scale of.
I definitely show up. I definitely show up. I'm not. I don't trip the whole thing, but I'm definitely.
No, this guy. It was like that's
he's redlining.
Ooh, doggy.
But you know what? Forget it. They're right. We should give up on our constitutional standards when people are dying, because a good constitution is built so that you ignore it if anything goes wrong.
Right.
You make sure that there are provisions within the Constitution to just fuck over the Constitution if anything seems a little wobbly.
Well, I mean, one way we could end school shootings would be to get rid of gun rights. Do something about that Second Amendment, Dan.
Yeah. Well, or we could actually pass reasonable.
That's
laws.
all we need.
The other thing is, the thing that I love about this is that their prescription for ending school violence is getting God in there.
Oh, God.
Completely ignoring the fact that this last year, as we've reported, the vast majority of terrorism in this country has been Christian terrorism.
Oh, yeah.
So,
oh, yeah.
But yeah, I wonder what they would say if you said that to them. Would they just deny it?
Well,
They'd probably just deny
because it is like Christian terrorism, but it's also steeped in white nationalism.
Well, there's that too,
right?
Sure.
That is the
but it's part and parcel.
You don't
get white nationalism that isn't Christian based, that isn't also ranting and raving about Christianity.
It's true.
But they'll just disavow.
Yeah,
that's not our Christians.
No
true
and
Scotsman.
That's what I'm saying. Is that it's easy for them to try to draw a distinction,
right?
That a distinction we may not agree with or see, but
right.
Anyway, well, I guess. Did we have any emails that you wanted to address?
Yes, we have.
I don't have any voicemail.
Well, I
got
all the emails. So here we come. We got Stephen wrote into us, said, "Hello, Frank and Dan." That's a good way to start, I think, Stephen.
Hello, Stephen.
I was curious what your thoughts are on the negative nature surrounding atheism in our culture. While I understand the topic has been covered numerous times in regards to theists stigmatizing atheists, I think atheists are looked at negatively even by many secular people. I've seen atheists range from being apathetic toward out atheists to complaining about the majority of atheists. I think there is a very negative straw man version of atheists that paints us as arrogant, angry, obnoxious, and impatient. As a result, many atheists seem to come out of religion, but still hold on to the negative feelings surrounding the label atheist. Sometimes it almost feels to me that this apathetic or negative feeling towards open and active atheists has a strong influence on atheists being a confident, influential, and supportive group. So what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, and I've actually, this actually fits kind of into a thought that I've had recently.
Okay.
Which is atheists as a group, we lack a lot of like the. We're a group, not because of anything that we do believe, but what we don't believe. So we're not cohesive as really a group. But I was wondering, how do we get some of that sort of university level, institutional level, PC generosity and protection toward our community?
Well,
where it starts becoming out of fashion to say negative things about gay people, and that people actually, or not gay people, atheists,
right?
And that people who are not atheists actually start to say, no, that's not cool,
right?
Much in the way that we've been successfully changed people's attitudes on use of certain words or whatever,
right,
directed toward women or people with learning disabilities or whatever, like or gay people, or there has been a shift in our culture because of those attitudes. And I just wonder how do we get that as a group?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the thing is that when you come out of religion, a lot of the time, a lot of people who come fresh out of religion have a lot of anger, and that's fine.
Right.
And then they want to hear from angry atheists. And so like people who are yelling angry stuff into microphones to kind of get elevated and whatever.
Right.
So maybe part of it is like start trying to elevate voices that aren't angry,
right,
within our community.
But I think
that aren't obnoxious or whatever.
If being atheist,
but most of them aren't.
Carry like, do what?
Most atheists aren't. Most atheists are great.
I know,
really nice people.
That's what I'm saying. If being atheist didn't carry the stigma of, well, all the various stigma that is tacked on to being an atheist, but like if it could be understood more as identity level, and I know that sucks, and I kind of don't even want that for the atheist community, but I just think that if we could control the conversation more about who we are as people, it would go a long way. And I don't know if that really is addressing what he's talking about, but
yeah, I don't know.
It made me think of that thought of like, how do we get some of that sweet PC love?
Yeah,
Yeah.
How do we destigmatize atheism?
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, put some work into that thought. Try and figure out how we do that, and then let us know.
Yeah.
Jen wrote into us, "Hi guys, love the show. It's a great way to get through my boring work day." Well, that's nice. As someone who lives in Surprise, Arizona, that one always sneaks up on you. Come around the corner, and there it is. The insight into Mormonism is welcome knowledge. But the reason I'm emailing you is because one of the ads I heard was on our show was for Grand Canyon University, a Christian college.
No, really?
Thought it was odd, but I heard the same ad listening to another atheist show. Oh, gosh. We should take this opportunity to just discuss that we don't choose the ads.
We don't have any control over it.
We lost some listeners during the last election cycle because there were some Trump ads that ran on our show.
Yeah.
People were mad about it. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I think when something advertises on our show that is very clearly against what we're all about,
right,
I always think that's hilarious because like they're just wasting their money.
Right.
They're throwing their money down the toilet with us, with our listeners.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
I know.
I'll take their money if they want if they want to give it to us.
Absolutely.
But yes, sorry if you hear an ad that you find weird or distasteful, but that's not our job.
Yeah.
And we unfortunately for us, we don't have the clout to be able to pick and choose yet.
Yeah.
Someday.
One
more. This last one's from Cynthia, who says, "Dear Frank and Dan, I first want to tell you that I love the show. I would say that I finally embraced an atheist lifestyle in my early 40s,
nice.
Somewhere, which is between 2018, 2019. Wow. Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Fully embraced atheist. As a coworker, I had a coworker confront me yesterday about why I don't believe in Jesus or God.
Oh boy.
She started to question me about why I don't believe, why I am the way I am, etc. I talked about several different reasons why I don't go to church and why I don't believe in the Bible. I brought up issues that are problematic with the Bible, starting in Genesis with the 2 creation stories. Why is it that the Bible did not corroborate science? And I brought up issues with slavery being justified throughout the Bible. At the end of a lot of the issues that I brought up, a lot of the issues that I brought up were dismissed. And she kept saying that all I know is that Jesus is my Savior and my Lord, etc. I asked her, have you ever read the Bible from cover to cover? And she said no, but her husband and her pastor have. She did offer to set up a meeting with her husband and her pastor so they can talk to me about the Bible and maybe even bring me back into the fold.
Oh my God.
I would like some advice. Would you attend a meeting of this kind?
No.
And if you would, what would you say to these gentlemen to defend your position about why you don't believe? Thank you, Cynthia. Hey, Cynthia.
Yeah.
You owe these people exactly nothing.
Nothing.
You don't have to have this conversation with them.
I actually don't even have any advice for what to say because
don't go.
Yeah.
You don't owe them anything. They're not going to. Here's the other thing.
And if this is actually in the workplace, it's not some coworker that you're friendly with and she lives next door and came walking over. If this is happening in the workplace, it's inappropriate.
It is. It is. You should probably shut it down.
Unless you work at a Christian bookstore.
Right.
And if you do, well then that's on you.
That's on you. But yeah, no, don't. Here's the thing. If I felt even remotely like you could have a productive, interesting conversation with these people, I might say go do it.
Yeah.
But evangelizers, missionaries, these people aren't listeners. They won't hear your position.
No.
They won't have anything to do with what you're saying. All they want to do is talk at you.
Right.
They have an agenda, they have a goal, and none of it is to hear what you have to say or to care about you as a human being.
Yeah.
It is to bring you into their way of thinking, into their fold. They need you to be one of them. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, they'll just shut you out. They don't care anymore. So no, don't expose yourself to that nonsense. Don't listen to what they have to say. Don't need it.
Yeah, and I would assume that you probably want these conversations with your coworker to end, to stop happening. And if you go and meet with these people, it's just going to be that much longer. It's going to be exponentially worse. The amount of conversations you're having.
Yeah, you don't want any of this
about this. Just shut this down.
Shut the whole thing down. Just say, you know what? We would recommend probably just saying to your coworker, hey, I appreciate your interest.
Yeah.
And this was nice, but we shouldn't be talking about this here.
And I'm really happy in my life and the decisions that I've made, and please let's leave it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the best thing you can do to bake their noodle is to just be a happy person.
Yeah.
That is let them know that you're an atheist. You don't need to have any discussions. Just live your best life.
Yeah.
It will rock their world to see a happy you.
How can she be happy?
That's the best thing to do.
All right. Is that the end of emails?
That's it.
Okay. Well, we have a couple people to thank, Dan. A few people. Actually, a whole lot of people.
Ooh.
What? We have one new faithful listener, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. We have two new venerable listeners, Matthew and Robin. Thanks to the both of you.
Thanks to both of you, yes.
And then we need to acknowledge something, a failure on my part, because I'm the one who looks this stuff up.
Okay.
Because there's been a little bit of movement with the Lord and Savior category.
Sure.
I had sort of nosed around a little bit, but I apparently had done a really good job. We actually have a pantheon of gods.
What?
At this point of
Lords and Saviors?
It's not just
was there a conspiracy?
Not just one, not just two.
What?
Not just three.
What?
Not four, but 5 Lords and Saviors.
Holy shit!
Our top donors. Scott
tied for first
place. Scott, D, Hannah, Liz, and Judy
Holy
making up
simoleons.
our pantheon of top supporters.
Wow.
We appreciate you. We can't believe the level of support that you guys are coming in at. And I am sorry, because there's a few of you who I think should have been thanked as well last week.
Falling through the cracks. Wow.
So this week, I figured out a better way to look this up. And
I'm just going to point this out to these guys. All it takes is for one of you to raise your level, and then you get to be the only Lord and Savior. You can stay at 5.
I love the pantheon level.
I do too. I do.
That's great.
I love splitting that between them. That's great. Well, thank you guys all so very much. You are amazing. And if any of the rest of you who aren't currently giving would like to be part of the Pantheon, you can go to thankgodimatheist.com and click the support tab, or there's a Patreon button in there somewhere.
Doohickey.
Find the doohickey, and it'll send you onto Patreon, and you can join up and be part of the best people in the world.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, Dan.
Hey, you know what I just did? I'm gonna let our listeners in, because I just did a joke for us, which was, I said, "And we're back in 5, 4."
And then I came in right
and then
on
you
time.
came in right on the way. Yeah. We did the it's a TV thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not really
It's not really an audio
pre-recorded
thing.
podcast thing.
Right.
But anyway, today, Dan, you kind of mentioned earlier that you had found this Pew poll that you wanted to talk about.
Oh, you love a good Pew poll.
I love a Pew poll.
Here's
One
the
of my
thing,
favorite things.
and we'll get to this. I find some problems with this poll,
Okay.
as I do with many polls, because as you know, listeners, because our listeners are the smartest listeners in the world. How you word the wording on a question affects how affects the outcome. How you craft just everything about your poll will affect the outcome, and I think that there are some questions that come up on this.
Okay.
But
well,
let's start with this. It is the Pew actually did they grabbed a whole bunch of different research and brought it together.
Ooh.
And analyzed it, and what they've discovered is that actively religious people who go to services regularly,
Okay.
seem to be happier, or at least report being happier
That's interesting.
than inactive.
I mean, I could come up with a few reasons to probably support that. Obviously, and we've talked about this a lot on the show. Religion and going to church in particular gives you a community.
It does.
And we are social beings, right?
And
I could see somebody finding a certain level of satisfaction in their life and a certain happiness from those connections that they make, those friendships and whatnot.
Sure.
At church.
Sure.
And there's usually a lot of there activities that happen during the week.
Yeah.
At most churches. So
You can. There's fun to be had.
Yeah.
There's community. There
Yeah.
is friendship.
Yeah. And so
On offer at most churches.
And so I could see that actually increasing a certain level of just life satisfaction and their happiness. It is a struggle. That is one of the struggles of being an atheist.
For many
atheists, is that broader sense of community.
right.
But
Finding community can be tricky for those of us who don't have a built-in thing like church.
Right.
Now, one of my issues with this is that these people who go to church are self-selecting. So people who regularly attend church are not the people who are marginalized by that church.
they fit. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
In.
They fit in.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
do well. They thrive in that environment. People who don't regularly attend church but may be still believers
Right.
could very well be the ones who those people may make them feel like shit. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lots of people who don't go to church are made to feel like shit by the people who do go to church. So there's a lot
nasty churchgoers.
There's a lot of that shit going on, and that's one of my objections.
Well,
to
you
this
know,
kind of a thing.
we do know that church people often have a sense of superiority.
Yes,
and
maybe that makes you feel happy.
Maybe I'm better than everybody else.
Look at how much better I am than everyone. Boy, I feel good about that.
Yeah,
I feel great.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, that's funny. Another issue that I wanted to bring up, and I know that this is true within Mormonism because that's my culture. That's what I know that group of people.
Sure, yeah.
Is that there's a pressure within the Mormon church, and I think this probably applies to a lot of other churches too.
But the Mormons do take it to an extreme. I know where you're going. Yeah.
There is a pressure within the Mormon church to be happy. And to report happiness.
Yeah.
Because if you don't report happiness, even if you're actually miserable, there are Mormons who are actually miserable, but will tell you how happy they are.
Right.
And a lot of that comes down to this cultural sense that if you're not happy, so the church is meant to bring you happiness. You're supposed, if you're doing all the things that the church tells you to do, the promise is that you will then be happy.
Right.
And therefore, if you're not happy,
right,
you're not churching well.
Right.
You're betraying God in some way. You're doing something wrong.
And this explains the amount of antidepressants that are taken within the Mormon community.
Right.
Because there's something wrong with them because they see the act that all these other people are doing, this happy act.
Right.
They don't realize how much of a happy act it is.
Right.
They get down on themselves because they're not that happy. And then they go and get some Prozac to fix themselves right up.
I got nothing against taking Prozac.
I don't either.
I think it's great. But yes,
if you're legitimately...
The problem is that Utah County, which is sort of Mormon Central, is one of the highest consumers of antidepressants in the country.
Yeah.
If not the highest. It's like the highest.
It's really bad.
So there's a correlation there.
Yeah.
And if you ask people... I wonder what would happen if this same survey, if the Pew people said, also, are you taking antidepressants right now?
that should have been a question.
Because if you're happy, but like you're achieving it chemically, again, nothing against that. But I think a lot of these people aren't clinically depressed. They're religiously depressed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they need that extra boost that way. There's some interesting other concurrent things in this study, not just happiness. They also talked about health, and this is an interesting thing to me because they seem to be claiming, and as I was reading, they were like, and it seems like there are some health benefits to church attendance too. And and as I dug into that, it seems like what they're calling health benefits are actually what are considered healthy behaviors. So fewer smokers in religion, fewer drinkers in religion.
Okay.
That makes sense to me. Those aren't necessarily tremendously healthy things to do, although, you can drink in moderation and be totally healthy.
Right.
And even smoke in moderation, and that's okay too. But, it's not great.
Right.
But you're fine.
Yeah.
Most smokers, if you're a smoker, you're not doing it in moderation, so it's probably not a great thing. But here's the interesting thing.
Guess what, everybody?
What?
Nothing.
Dan's an occasional smoker? Yes, I do. I smoke the occasional cigar.
Just so that everybody knows where that's coming from.
Yeah, anyway.
Because that's not my stance.
Okay.
About cigarettes and whatnot. Anyway,
I know a lot of people who, they only smoke if they're out with their friends drinking, and they
sure.
get it.
And that's obviously far less risky behavior.
Right. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Anywho, however, there are some other things, like, for instance, regular church attendees, far less likely, or not far less likely, slightly less likely to exercise regularly and are slightly more likely to be obese. So
wait, but they're healthier?
Well, when you dig down, it seems like maybe that might not be the case.
They're more likely. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
they are more likely to be civically engaged. And I think that is one of the things that I wanted to talk about a little
we
bit.
fucking see that in Utah.
Because let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. It's real important for all of you guys to be civically engaged, to be engaging with your government, to be voting all the time.
Yes.
Even when there's not a vote happening, go
Running
vote
for
something.
Some silly little office.
Yes, indeed.
Get yourself on some council or committee in your community.
Yeah, or go and attend the meetings and
just
make
be
sure
there.
Get up there and speak if you have something to talk about.
Yeah.
Make sure your voice is heard.
Yeah.
Write letters and emails and whatever.
Absolutely.
Be ignored by your politicians the way I'm ignored by mine. It's very important. Anywho, I think that is one of the things. Our demographic is one of the fastest growing demographics in these United States.
Yes.
And probably worldwide too. I haven't really looked at those figures lately. But I definitely know that in the United States, atheists, agnostics, non-religious people growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
The young people, they're casting off the chains of religion in droves.
Right.
So now it's time for us to make our voices heard, because we are disproportionately large and disproportionately underrepresented and underheard.
Yeah.
And people who go to their churches are overrepresented, and they get to be heard a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And frankly, I have so much privilege in the rest of my life, I would like this to fall in line. I am a straight white male. I've got it all except for this part. So
Right.
if we can get this piece of the puzzle into place, my privilege bingo card will have been blacked out. And
I'm so happy for
that's
you,
what
man.
I'm looking for, baby.
Yeah.
No, we are one of the. Let's not forget that in terms of hated groups in America,
I know.
we're topping the list, ladies and gentlemen. So getting out there and getting our voices heard and being visible and engaging is a very, very important thing.
Yes, it is. And it might just make you happier.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
No,
maybe that engagement is part of the happiness
why
that these guys
not?
report.
Why not? Because again, if you're out there, if you're out being involved,
Yeah.
you're interacting with people.
Yeah.
You might, whether you make a new best friend, who knows? But you're making new friends. You're meeting new people.
Absolutely.
Having interesting conversations.
Yeah.
You're being stimulated as a human being, right?
Yeah, and also when you feel engaged. Now it is dangerous territory, because it can be very depressing to engage civically.
Yeah.
When things don't go your way.
Oh, believe me, I hate my HOA meetings.
But when you, but when you're engaged, at least you feel like you're doing something that has meaning.
Yeah.
And adding meaning to your life is always a good thing in terms of feeling satisfaction, and you know what, you and I were talking, Frank, earlier about how happiness isn't necessarily doesn't have to be the goal. For a lot of us,
Right.
we're not shooting for constant happiness, because
Right.
that's a silly, weird, moving target.
Right. Because like I think we should be trying to avoid, sadness, and obviously super avoiding, I mean, sadness will happen normally in your life, right? I guess the more extremes of that, where maybe you fall into depression and you need to get yourself out of that.
And misery and all of these things,
Yeah.
these things are to be avoided.
Right. And it's not, I don't think I need to be happy all the time to have a satisfied and content life.
Right.
Right. And because contentment, and there's almost like this negative idea about contentment in our culture, right? That you're settling, right? That you're giving up, and that's not it at all.
No.
But just finding satisfaction and contentment in life, with your employment, in your relationships, with your friends, in whatever your living situation is, it's attainable. It's real. It feels good. happiness it comes in waves. It's fleeting, right?
Yeah.
And so if your whole goal is just to be happy, I just think you're going to be upset that you're not happy all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're going to stress yourself out.
Yeah,
right?
it's literally a way to make yourself miserable.
Yeah.
Shooting if you feel like you always have to be happy.
Yeah. But satisfaction, contentment, these are things that when you can look around at your life and just say, you know what, things are good.
Yeah.
I feel good about, you know, my tiny little, you know, condo that
Yeah.
I love that fucking condo.
Yeah.
And it is so many people's worst nightmare, you know,
Yeah.
because it's so small. And I just think it's like the best thing ever.
Well,
right?
that's the other thing, is that happiness for a person, at least in my life, the things that have made me happy at various points in my life have changed over time. So like I don't have a vocabulary to describe what will make me happy, because that's a moving target. That's a thing, you know.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
will wash over me. It will
Yeah.
come to me at times, and then it will sort of flow away also. There's an ebb and a flow to happiness and to sadness.
Yeah.
They both come and they both go.
Absolutely.
And so I've stopped shooting for happiness. That's not a goal for me.
Interesting.
Just contentment and enjoyment of life.
Is Dan, is this a new thing for you? Is this a newer realization? I feel like we've had conversations in the past, and you were really talking a lot about happiness, and I'm just curious.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe I still love happiness.
Of course, who doesn't?
Right.
You'd be a nutcase if you
But
like to be happy.
joyful moments are moments.
Yeah.
And I do, and I appreciate them, and I love them when I have them, and then I let them go. And to me,
That's
it's I'm not looking for some manic, permanent state. I think
that's fantastic.
I think
that's
that
a good place to be.
Yeah, it's just it's a more gentle. I don't know. Like I'm not telling anybody else how they have to live their lives.
No. But I think it's really interesting because as former Mormons, we came out of something where we were told that we had to be happy all the fucking time.
Right.
Or else something was wrong with us. Something was wrong with our lives. Something was wrong with our relationship and connection to God, so forth and so on. Well, that actually seems like another wonderful little control mechanism of the Mormon church, right? Is that they always find great ways for you to be focused on your deficit, right? And so you end up just beating yourself up trying to conform, right?
Yeah.
And they do that with other things as well, and that's what makes leaving the LDS Church such a mind fuck, because you have to deprogram these things. You have to learn to accept that no, I don't have to be manically happy all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Or be projecting that out into the world.
Right.
Right.
So I think that there's a lot of ways in which these numbers that Pew has come up with might be skewed, including, I mean, it's all self-reported.
Right.
So they're not doing tests. They're not coming up with ways of testing how happy a person is. They're asking people how happy they are. And that's a very different thing.
I think they need like some kind of meter.
Yeah.
They just attach to you.
Right. They just
Ding, 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 ding.
plug it in. Maybe they can test it in the blood. Maybe they can just do a little blood test. You do a couple drops and they're like, you're not very happy.
Your meta happy ends or something. You're
Yeah. Anyway, I think part of the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I think was it George Bernard Shaw? I think Shaw said the fact that why are you laughing at? I'm sorry. Did I just get a little literary for you? A little too literary for Frank.
Was it Shaw who said? I'm sorry, everyone. Okay, proceed.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm making sorry.
I do think it was George Bernard Shaw who said that the fact that a believer is happier than a non-believer is no more material than the fact that a drunkard is happier than a sober person. So he said something along those lines. That's a paraphrase.
I love that. That's good. I'm glad you remembered that he said that.
Thank you, Frank. Anyway, so I think that like it's not something that we need to worry ourselves over, but it's something to look at in our lives.
Oh yeah,
and in our communities, and how can we provide community for each other, and how can we provide better, a more stable living? Because that's the other thing that a lot of church communities provide is they know that if something goes wrong in their lives, there will be a group of people who will help them.
That's true. Actually,
you know what I mean? They have that sort of sense of a safety net.
The dinner starts showing up,
right?
Or your lawn just magically gets mowed that week.
So I'd like to encourage each other, us as a community, to say, you know what? How can we reach out for our other community members? How can we be there for each other in a way that that we've lost if we've left a community that did that for each other?
Yeah.
So. I don't know. We can always. It never hurts for us to look at ourselves and ask questions about how we can do better.
No, of course not.
And if this Pew poll is a reason to do that, congratulations everybody on not being quite as fat as or as unhealthy as believers. I have nothing.
Getting more exercise, clearly. Get more time.
Get some more exercise.
We have more time to get exercise.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, and clearly we have been.
I don't care about fat. You can be fat if you want to, but be
But
healthy.
be healthy.
And be happy. Be happy if you can, and if you can't, find a way to feel satisfied at least.
Yeah.
And let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
If you have something you'd like to say to us about any of these findings or about how you feel about our community, feel free, write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yes, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and smash that like button.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join.
Yes.
It's awesome.
It is. Hey, speaking of Facebook, thanks so much to Mackenzie for all of her work on the Facebook page. And thanks to Danny and Amy for their work as moderators in the Members Only Lounge.
And thanks goes out to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music, and also to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thank all of you for listening in. We sure do appreciate you.
Bye-bye.